Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today. My name is Mel Rose, and I'm here to share your daily aspects. Today is Wednesday, May 25, 2022. The sun is in Gemini, and this indicates a time of year when we use our thoughts and words and other forms of expression as well to generate the narrative about our own realities. This is generally considered a very creative time where all topics of interest can be researched and discussed with great enthusiasm. Gemini's ruling planet, Mercury, is our trouble child at the moment, though. This retrograde reminds us at this time to place a heavier emphasis on listening and planning than on talking and making commitments. The moon is in Aries all day today. The moon preceded the planet Mars into Aries yesterday. Our sense of initiative has come home to the place where we focus on the self and we make a fresh start. No doubt, the waning crescent moon's presence says we are feeling the initiative to actively release the things that no longer serve our higher purposes. I'm going to get right into the aspects, but first I will point out the handcrafted key on the right-hand side of the page. Most of the symbols on the page have made it into the key. If you desire a point of reference, it's right here. I have otherwise divided the page into two columns, one for each of our luminaries. The moon is the luminary that sheds light on our inner lives. It's your relationship with yourself, what it feels like for you to be in your body, heart, and mind, and in your home. The transits and aspects that the moon makes are all very brief, and they have a subtle impact on those things you think, feel, know, and intuit, but may choose whether to express. The sun is the luminary that sheds light on our outer lives. This is the outward expression of yourself in the world, specifically in your work, social, and civic spaces. I address the sun and the rest of the planet's movements on this side because they have a greater effect on that outward expression. But listen, today, friends, we don't have any lunar aspects and we don't have any fresh solar aspects either. So it's all ongoing column today. And first, I just want to point out, as far as signs go, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces are all represented on the page today in these various interactions between the planets. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on these. I did not make this like a lunar and a solar. We're setting aside Venus and Saturn because they're just sort of an outlier to this beautiful sort of baseball approach to ongoing aspects that I've got over here. So we'll start with Venus sextile Saturn. That's with us through May 29. This is our receptive, attractive side, Venus, working together with Saturn, the one that does what works, to create a sense of security. In friendship and in love, we seek out companionship, steady company, the familiar, reassuring smile. But Venus also applies to the goods and compensation we like to receive and rely on. Some of us may be looking for work or looking for a more secure position within their company. The sextile energy here tells us that if we make an effort, we can find that added sense of stability in our earnings or in the resources that are flowing in toward us one way or the other. Mercury is retrograde through June 3rd. And it seems we tend to take Mercury retrograde like a bitter pill to swallow. We embrace the idea that our ability to think and plan, and especially to communicate, will get all shook up, that our phones and computers, our internet connections, or our real connections are bound to give us frustration. Those things do happen, and it is true that things that normally go very easily for us can seem to come to a full stop when Mercury is in retrograde. It's important to remember that when Mercury is in retrograde, the sense of forward motion that we're used to getting from our thoughts, plans, and communications is just less available to us than usual. The frustration we experience is often the feeling of expectations that have backfired on us. And this is why I am always reminded to slow down. Mercury in retrograde gives us the space, if we will take it, to dither over the details, to get everything just right, and to unveil our grand new outlooks and projects in grand fashion only when they are complete and ready to go. Okay, also here we have Sun trine Pluto with us through May 27. A friend of mine yesterday said that she had had this experience where she was going through some old things and she had a trauma memory activated. But this time, when it happened, she was aware of the activation as it occurred. Pictures in her mind flashed by from moments spent in another time and place. And without having a very emotional reaction to it, she knew the whole experience for what it was. I see this conscious ability to observe and name the experience of being triggered as a beautiful expression of the Sun trine Pluto aspect. Our conscious selves are drawn to the information coming up from the deep feeling and intuitive self at this time. Having our attention on this stuff gives us a great opportunity to understand what it is that we're working on, what we're trying to heal, and what we're just trying to let go of. Mercury sextile Mars is here with us through May 28th. Under normal direct circumstances, this would seem to amplify Mars's more initiative-based impulses like speed, urgency, and purpose. Mercury being retrograde is, like I said, slowing us down. The slowdown here is to help us attend the details and avoid the pitfalls. Slowdown does not mean to stop work, though. The sextile energy here with Mars lends a lot of initiative and momentum. So we're still moving forward. We are just moving forward with a little bit more of a deliberate pace. Mercury is sextile with Jupiter here through the 28th. Good fortune is present in our efforts to plan and communicate here. Even if Mercury is retrograde, Jupiter is here to expand our analytic capacities, giving us a very clear look at the possibilities for the bigger, happier, more comfortable life we are seeking. Now may not be the time to rush into any commitments, but while the picture is clear, we can plan for the details and break the big goal down into smaller, more actionable items that we can take care of one at a time. Sun is sextile to Jupiter here through May 30th. Sure, I'll write out the word May. Cooperative vibrations between our conscious lives and the benefactor here are bound to generate good things. What you think on grows, so put your attention where you want to see abundance in your life. Give it your best planning and efforts. These expansion vibes will follow where you focus. And Mars here is sextile to Pluto through May 30th. Our sense of initiative, our will to act, is in cooperation with our collective and personal interior depths, especially now that Mars is transiting in Aries. Listen to your instincts and act on them. The sextile vibration here says that your efforts will bring about positive consequences. Sun is sextile Mars and will remain in aspect there through June 4th. We know what actions are on our plates. We know what we have to do, like these actionable goals that we have set under Mercury's aspect with Jupiter, and we have the conscious and physical will to take care of business. So that's the focus there, is sort of drive and initiative. Mercury trine Pluto did come back into full aspect today. Sometimes when these aspects seem to last a long time in the ongoing column, it's just sort of if you could look at them on the chart, they're sort of, they'll come into aspect and then they'll sort of stretch apart and lean out of aspect. But before they get all the way out of aspect, something will happen and they'll start to move back together again. And that's what happens. So then you have those aspects seeming to come up again and again, but really they've been in aspect the whole time. To some extent or another, the aspects sort of attenuate. They become a little less powerful, and then they bunch up a little bit and they become a little more powerful. So today they come back into full aspect. That's, sort of the most powerful vibe you can get from that Mercury trine Pluto. And this continues to bless us with positive vibes and rich insights through the 19th of June. After witnessing her own trigger mechanism go through its motions, my friend was then able to articulate to herself and to me what had happened. She saw it clearly and could express it in simple terms, not being overwhelmed by the emotion and resistance that she might have felt. And so it is for Mercury trine Pluto here. Between the Sun and Mercury both hanging out with Pluto in this really harmonious way, we've been given this beautiful opportunity to heal old wounds, or at least to be able to see, to learn the roadmap to healing. Mercury trine Pluto also gives us a certain amount of foresight regarding the bigger changes that are coming up for us. And this empowers us to be ready so that we can step confidently into this transformation, trusting that we are becoming more real and whole versions of ourselves as we go. And not to forget, Pluto is retrograde through October 8th. Pluto has been working its transformative magic on our traditions and institutions for the past 25 years. And if you look back, you can see how much change we have collectively and individually experienced. Mercury, I'm so used to talking about Mercury. Pluto is direct for about 6 months out of the year and retrograde for the same amount of time. Pluto will begin to part from Capricorn next year in March, and for the first time in a generation, we'll see that slow generative magic begin to be applied to Aquarian principles, more like the general good, the social welfare, the scientific, the big overview, and also a tendency to rebel against systems that hold people back or separate people from their higher purpose. But for now, these deep and slow changes to the way things work for us in the most fundamental ways are not done. And if anything, this being the final year, they may come on more suddenly and with more intensity than they have in the past 2 decades. They say it's always darkest before the dawn, and this is where we are, astrologically speaking, with Pluto and Capricorn. So remain flexible and remain dedicated to building something solid for yourself. There is a light at the end of this tunnel. And just look at all this really positive vibration surrounding Pluto right now. Almost all of these planets are in aspect with Pluto, and then a couple of them are also in aspect with Jupiter. Jupiter I see as like our opportunities for growth. If you go to your natal chart and you find out like what sign Jupiter is in for you, and also what house, you can get some clues as to where your opportunities for growth are opening up, your opportunities for expansion and education. Whereas if you go to your chart and check Pluto, you can find out really kind of what kinds of transformation you're working on, where the transformations might happen in your life. So that can be really helpful. This Saturday, Venus will make ingress to its home sign of Taurus, putting us in a more comfortable and positive vibe with the receipt of material resources. Nice to see things starting to settle down for Venus after all of this time. And we'll see the new moon in Gemini next Monday, May 30th. That'll be our clean slate, the beginning of our new creative cycle. The more rational, less emotional end of the moon cycle is here at the end and beginning of the moon cycle. So this is the time when we you sort of clear away the clutter and create a clean slate so that we can think and dream and create new goals and intentions for ourselves. And that's it for today's astrology, friends. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please like my video, subscribe, and click the notifications bell. I post here every day, and I wouldn't want you to miss a thing. And friends, I appreciate it so much that you comment to ask questions or provide encouragement. It isn't just gratifying for me to know that you're listening, and it's really gratifying for me to know that you're listening, but it also lets YouTube know that you're engaged in the content, and that helps me out a lot as well. So thank you very much. Also, if you know anyone else for whom this guidance may resonate, I encourage you to share. Sharing is caring. And now I'm going to take a couple of minutes to talk about tarot as it relates to astrology today. First, I'll discuss the tarot card that sits on the side of the page, and then I'll do a quick rundown of today's astrology before throwing a random card that hopefully speaks to today's energies. So let's get into that. The tarot card that sits on the side of the page right now is the Eight of Swords, and it relates astrologically directly to the first 10 days of the sun's transit through Gemini. So it's a 30-day transit. We'll have 3 swords cards, and it's swords because Gemini is an air sign, and swords are air in the tarot. So this is air is very much an intellectual quality. It is mercurial. It is about what we think, what we say, what we plan, and sort of the running around we do, the little errand running that we do. But mostly, let's talk about our thoughts, plans, and communications. And especially in tarot, it's about how we use our thoughts, plans, and communications, like to help ourselves or against one another. And a lot of the stuff in tarot is a reminder of how easy it is to use your thoughts, words, and plans against somebody. So this brings us to the Eight of Swords, which is really a card about self-sabotage. This is sort of a position that we get into where we feel victimized and we feel entrapped and we feel powerless to get out of a situation. But, guess what? We got ourselves into this situation, right? And if anything, we feel powerless to get out of the situation because we just don't know another way, perhaps. Or, it would be a loss of face, or even more than that, a loss of, in some cases, your possessions or your family or your friends, to come clean about something that you are hiding from yourself and others, right? And this is not just dishonesty with others. This is being dishonest with yourself. So the example I gave yesterday was, sometimes, and I did this when I was younger too, sometimes we get this idea that we know how life is supposed to work. Like maybe we grew up in a very loving home and our parents showed us how life was supposed to work and they told us how life was supposed to work. And you go here and you do this and you interact with these people and you go to school here and you go to church here and everything will work out just fine for you, right? And so, you go into your adulthood and you're just trying to do and say and be all the right things, right? And you use your thoughts and your words and your plans to build up this life around yourself. But then you find that you don't feel happy with it, right? You feel a little bit trapped in it. You feel like there's no way out. You feel like you've made all these commitments and you've also made all of these plans, and none of them include you getting to express yourself fully, right? And so eventually we have to open our eyes to the fact that we have been dishonest with ourselves. And when we are dishonest with ourselves, we're also dishonest with the people around us. And, we have to make a choice whether we are going to compound the lie, keep telling the lies about ourselves, or keep using our thoughts, words, and plans, to ensnare ourselves in this situation, which might work really well for some people, but does not work very well for us. Or, we're going to have to release ourselves from our bonds. We're going to have to pull the veil away from our eyes. We have all the tools at our disposal to use our thoughts and words to create any reality we want to. Okay, so thoughts and words, especially creative. Okay, and you can use your thoughts and words to create all kinds of fences around yourself to protect yourself, and also, to sort of keep yourself in a position where you feel like you can manage yourself, right? Thoughts and words can be used against other people, but they can definitely be used against ourselves as well. And, unfortunately, if you find yourself in a situation where you have planned yourself into this corner, that's a tough position to get out of, but it really just takes some clarity, some inner searching. What other choice does this person have but to sort of turn within at this point, right? They can stumble about being miserable and going on with their plans, or they can remove the veil and empower themselves. So, that's the message that comes from this. Don't sabotage yourself anymore. Stop making plans that don't include a benefit for you. Stop saying unkind things about yourself, or making commitments to people who do not have your best experience at heart. And with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and mix up some tarot cards while I remind myself and the cards that the sun is in Gemini. Very communicative, creative time right now. We express ourselves. We try to express our best ideas and our best version of ourselves as well. We sort of create narratives at this time that tell hopefully a very positive story about ourselves in the world. But if it isn't, at least we're able to communicate it, which is, being honest with ourselves and others can take us a long way. So there's that. And then the waning crescent moon will be new on Sunday, so in just a few days, and the moon is in Aries, so this is initiative from the heart and in the home at a time in the moon's phase when we are actively trying to release things that no longer work for us. So active, initiative, releasing, those are the key words there. And then as far as the rest of the stuff on the page today, we have a bunch of ongoing column stuff. So Venus sextile Saturn is here with us for a few more days, calling in familiar comforts, calling in reliable old resources, and working together. This cooperative thing says our efforts will bring us in what we're trying to get. And then in terms of that familiar smile or that increased earnings, that financial or affectionate boon that we need in our lives, that sort of solid foundation, some tree that we can lean on, right? And then on the other side, we have this beautiful sort of, looks like a map of a baseball game, doesn't it? But it's really just a representation of the planets that are in ongoing aspect right now and how they're interacting with one another. And the interactions are all trine, or sextile, right? So trine, beautiful, harmonious, ideal functioning vibrations. Whatever you put your mind or your heart to under those vibrations, often come, something very positive comes of it. And, like I was describing today, how this has given people I know sort of an inner vision to be able to see the process by which their interior, their emotional and intuitive depths are working. And that's a really mysterious place for a lot of us. It's really not easy to see how that stuff works. So if you are given an insight into how your subconscious is working to help you notice things, work on things, think about things, take that to heart. Notice it and try to give it a voice. Try to find a way to express it, because even though Mercury is in retrograde, that just helps us slow down and try to get the details right. It's still this ideal positive functioning with Pluto, which is also in retrograde, which puts those transformations that we're going through more on the inside than on the outside. So this is very positive for just being able to even express what it is that we're working on, trying to heal what's coming up for us from our gut in terms of intuition, and telling us what it is that we need to change so that we don't feel so trapped, right? We're ready to put an end to this situation. That's what Pluto is about, is the ending and the new beginning as well. And then Mars is in this sextile relationship with Pluto right now, saying take action on what's coming up from your gut, take action on those things that you see, that you can express, that you can move toward healing them, or that you can write down the roadmap that you see to the healing. Take action on them, and your actions will generate positive outcomes all the way around. Take actions on what you see, take actions on what your attention is being drawn to, and what's coming up from your gut. And then here we have these sextiles between the Sun and Mercury and Jupiter here. So this is Jupiter in this very positive, functional sextile is cooperative, so it's dynamic, it does things, it creates something, it generates something positive out of its interaction. It's a worker. And so, Sun and Jupiter are working together to give us this bigger, more expanded version of what we can be, do, and have. And Mercury and Jupiter are working together, Mercury in retrograde, to help us plan for that bigger, expanded more comfortable version of what we can be, do, and have. So, and these are both very good luck kind of aspects too. This especially is like golden good fortune through May 30th. So again, whatever you turn your attention to, whatever you think on, whatever especially you put your energetic efforts into, that's where that energy is going to flow. So be focused and be diligent about where you want your expansion energy to flow, okay? And be focused with your words and your thoughts and plans too. Don't change them up a bunch, all right? Remain committed to what you are committed to. Don't commit to anything new. Just let the plan that you have in motion right now work together with Jupiter to help sort of expand your whole experience. I think those are really positive aspects. So here we see true insight and a golden opportunity for healing. We see initiative and momentum. We're able to take care of business here. We see strong good fortune vibes. So what we're thinking on is going to grow. Remember to keep your attention focused. And like I said, check Pluto. What kind of transformations are coming up or on board for us? What kind of transformations do we tend to go through just because of where Pluto is placed in our chart? And likewise, check Jupiter in your chart and find out where and how your opportunities for growth are coming in. You get some clues there. And with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn this card. 8 of Rods. What did I say? Momentum. Where is it? Momentum. Initiative and momentum. So Rods is wands. That's the fire element of the tarot. And 8 is 8 is a really positive number. You know, Mars is fire and Sun is fire. So, you know, this really relates specifically, I think, to this Sun sextile Mars, but also anything Mars is involved in right now, the sextile with Pluto, the sextile with Mercury. Mars is really in a cooperative mood right now, especially on the things that have our attention. And fortunately, like the healing and the intuitions right now, the sort of depths of our interior psyche are actionable at this time. We can see them, we can think about them, we can express them, and we can take action to move forward. So we've got this momentum in the direction of the endings and beginnings, with this momentum in the direction of these expanded experiences we speak. So, you know, we've got the light shining on those interior depths. We've got the light shining on that forward, on the future, on that forward plan, on what can be, what has been, and what can be are both very much under the spotlight. We're thinking about it, we're talking about it, and we can take action on it. And our actions are blessed. They have generative capacity for good outcomes. And also our actions on this end are blessed. They have generative capacity for good outcomes. That's what momentum is. You've got speed on your side. You've got forward motion. Mars is in Aries right now, says, let's go. And Mercury says, but I'm in retrograde. And Mars says, okay, well, we'll think about the details on the way. Right? So that's really great. That's positive news. And I think it pairs well with what we've got going on in here. You know, taken in context with the 8 of Swords, I do notice that we've got 2 8s. Okay, so we've got air and fire, and air feeds fire. So sometimes sometimes we've got a lot of air, we've got a lot of intellectual, analytic, cogitating things going on in our lives. We're thinking and planning and talking about what it is that we want. You know, air feeds fire, so sometimes that just sort of speeds up the momentum, right? And hopefully, you know, if there's some way in which we're sabotaging ourselves or holding ourselves back with our thoughts and our words and our plans, if there's something that we, you know, kind of need to come clean with ourselves and probably others on, hopefully, you know, this fiery momentum is being fed by that need, and we can go ahead and just push forward, okay? We know what needs to heal. We can see it very clearly. We're actually rather rational about it at this time. And we feel like an overwhelming, almost a compelling urge to take action on the changes that are coming, the endings and beginnings. Okay, this situation here wants to come to an end, however that looks for you. Okay, so the time to the time to ride forward, to move off into the sunset with the speed and momentum behind you is right now. I hope you can take advantage of it. And I believe that's all I have to say about it today, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I truly appreciate you being here. My name is Mel Rose, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow for more Astrology Today.